Hi everybody, Mature Simmer here. So welcome back to spring, as is a little bit typical. Doing my single player farming simulator stuff. Got really into that, which I tend to do because it's usually been a week or more and I'm like, ooh, yeah, I can do this, I can do that, I can do this. You know, it's really the VIP stuff, so there's always a lot that I can focus on. So I'm trying to think here. Oh, duh. I have silos over there. I'm like, do I have to go back to the store to get supplies? But no, at least I shouldn't, hopefully for a while. I know I only had like 25,000 liters of stuff, and it's not as if I have a ton of money because last year we paid off our debt. So that was a big thing. So nothing to sneeze at, and probably worth having the 15,000, but what I may need to do if I somehow can't go ahead and plant here, that I might need to come up short, but hopefully I have enough seed and it's not really going to be a problem. Okay, so I'm going to head up here, taking a look at what happened last year between the bales and the crop. I had a nearly $200,000 profit compared to about $170,000 with canola, the year I did canola on both fields. So it seems the grain with the baling certainly makes a lot of sense. Just like I did with canola, where it was kind of easy, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to put oats back in here, because it really doesn't make a lot of sense to kind of reinvent the wheel if I don't have to. Let me just see if I'm kind of online here. It kind of looks like I am, so that's good. So I'll go back here because I know the field sticks out a bit, so that will work. But as long as I don't run out of material, then I should be making some decent progress. Let me just make sure that I don't have any challenge here. Alright, so I don't need lime on either field, so that would be the wild card, because that I don't think I have enough of. I did not line myself up. I was talking about it and then I didn't, so there's literally that tiny little nub. Turn this on, and there we go. It planted the nub, and now I can go ahead and do this. So the other thing I'm going to try to be cognizant of, and again, I know I'm in early stages, the first compilation video, I'll call it that, the first annual roundup, whatever it is. This is now going to be the third year that I'm doing this. I think I'm going to be into the fourth year, so I'll maybe have 4 years in before the videos actually start becoming public. But I'm just having to therefore make choices without feedback at all. So at this point, last year's roundup was an hour and a half, which definitely gets up there in the marathon videos that I had at times that led me to do the compilations to begin with. Now, for a summary of an entire year, people might be like, you know what, if I'm seeing an hour and a half video every roughly 2 weeks, every 12 days, that's okay. So that's kind of where what I need to understand. So I didn't feel like I was doing that much chatter, but obviously I did enough and had enough going on. Now, once again, we got some new equipment last year. We did a few things where this year should be much more of a rinse and repeat of what we had. So these little straw drops, that was something I did notice. My harvester would empty, and it was empty, but it's like then when I dropped down my header, it like spit out a little bit of straw just out in the middle of nowhere, and that's why those pieces are laying around, because frankly I didn't see them over there. The other thing is I have been out of the farm since in December when I was here last and we did the roundup, so Actually was worried that it was March and came in and saw it. Oh my goodness, it was April. So I'm like, all right, I need to plant because tomorrow is going to be a really tough day as far as time. We're kind of getting into, as I said, a lot of time constraints in real life. Today is more wide open. It still may be challenging to get planted and weeded today, but obviously I'm going to do everything I can to try to do that. But being out that many months, I still have 12,000 liters of water, so that was nice to see. And you can see the one thing is seed consumption and everything else here, not slow. So I'd have to go, I know the dollars that I spent on seed last year, I could tell you that in a few moments. What I don't have is the quantities. But at the rate this is going, you know I need to refill this thing relatively frequently. I just am hoping I have enough seeds to get this done, because that way if I get 200,000 in profit again, I'll have plenty to then buy plenty of supply for my silos. And so I'm likely looking at 3 years of still continuing as I am before I am able to afford the planter that we talked about, or the seeder that we talked about before. And so if I still try to go toward maybe eventually becoming focused on cotton, which once again seems to be one of the best AI crops out there, I'm looking at a long time here in FOC before I can do that, which is fine. This kind of settles into a discussion I had probably multiple times as I was doing FSN videos, is once you've got that farm established and you've determined this is what we're doing. I use the millennial farmer as an example, where they plant corn and soybeans year-round, you know, year after year. I shouldn't say year-round, but year after year. And they seem to have done that for decades on their farm. That is what their farm does. That is what they do. The thing that's less clear is it these fields are always corn, these fields are always soy? Do they rotate? Again, crop rotation hasn't become a thing in FS22 like it was in FS19, so that's why I can just go ahead and keep planting oats. You know, the experiment, I've done enough experimenting in FSN and so forth. Like, I know switching to grain, different grain, you know, wheat, yeah, I'd get more grain, I'd get less straw. So, alright. So I didn't fall off the planet, I didn't do anything like that, I apologize. The system just kind of crashed. Well, the game crashed, and with it, OBS crashed. Thank goodness the initial video saved. I then had gone in, and I've actually recorded from kind of way over there in the field, and was wrapping up and talking about how I've talked way too long, and hopefully I won't do it all again as I reiterate. But then went to stop, and it just kind of hung up on stopping recording for minutes, and had to force OBS shut, and the video was lost. So this is now take 3 of trying to get this done. So, you know I was in the process of explaining, hey, I've tested other grains, other ways. It's just not worth the effort. So I'm going to go ahead and just stick with oats. I'm not forced to do crop rotation. I don't have to worry about it. And this is kind of, you know, what a lot of other farms end up doing, you know, in real life. You know, the example I always give is, you know, millennial farmer is someone I watch on YouTube, and for decades their family's done corn and soybeans. They may do the same thing on each field. It's not terribly clear. Maybe I'm not paying attention. You know, I don't know if they rotate or if it's just always, hey, these 5 fields are corn, these 5 fields are soybeans, and that way they just know what they're doing. But they talk about planning in the off season, so I'm assuming they do some decisions. You know, maybe it's just a couple fields that flip or something, depending on what they think which crop they think is going to be more profitable for a given year. You know, Farming Simulator doesn't quite do that great of a job of mimicking any of that. You know, people are always selling canola on FOC for $700. Like, the prices are the prices. So there's less dynamism in the economy there, which is disappointing. But the other thing, you know, I really want to be cognizant of trying to give a variety, and again, last year being as long as it was, I'm just trying to stay focused here. So you can look, I made, say, over 1,500, and yes, I'm here in euros because I was in my VIP series, which takes place in Europe, so just ignore that. I haven't reset things, and even after everything crashed, and I knew it did it last time, I'm still here in euros. So hopefully it won't break your brain, but it's just a symbol in the game here, so it doesn't matter. But at 1,500 a day, I'm basically making 18,000 a year from those greenhouses. So we're definitely settling in here to the point where I can just operate the farm, and really what the point of multiplayer is to me, and I think those of us that do it for a length of time, is it gives us that piece of, yep, I'm farming just like a farmer would in real life. I've got my farm, I do my thing, I don't do anything exciting, and so, you know, if you're looking for something exciting, I'd guide you over to, you know, and again, it's Farming Simulator, so exciting is relative, but I'd guide you to my VIP series. So I'm on the 2nd season right now over in Italy, but I've got a whole series that I did in Riverview. There's a lot more variety going on there, because that's the nature of the VIP Order Manager, and what it does is you just don't know what you're going to get. It's kind of like a box of chocolates in Forrest Gump. You just never know what you're going to get. So right now I've actually had to play with modifying Lua files in a mod in the BALES store that we use here. I'm using that in the VIP series for the bales, but the map I'm on has some added crop types, alfalfa being one of them, and that's what I'm doing instead of grass. So I could have avoided this if the thing hadn't crashed, but now we get to have the distraction of me going and getting seeds. So let me go do that, and then I'll come back so that I'm not extending this video by all the things that I need to do to get seeds. Alright, back here, planting away, fertilizing away. So, yeah, I'm using alfalfa, and so I have an order for alfalfa straw, but I needed to be able to store it somewhere, so I took the bale store and figured out, again, Frankensteined a way to make it work. So, like, the visuals don't do things anymore, so, like, all the bales, the cool bale stack that happens here, like, that doesn't happen anymore. Not because I took it out, but because it just doesn't work, and I have no idea how to fix that. Like, I'm not a modder. But I was able, more importantly, to be able to get the bales stored to the point where I can store alfalfa straw as well as straw, and I actually have both sitting in the same bale store at this point. And then, you know, I'd have hay and alfalfa hay in another one if I need that in the future. So, you know, stuff like that I talk about. I don't necessarily show you what I did or whatever. Obviously, people ask me in the comments, I'll explain, hey, here's what I did and so forth, but I think very few people would care in the video. It's not a how-to or tutorial video, it's a gameplay, it's a let's play video. So, but I'm sharing this with you to just explain, you know, there's variety on the channel. If you're like, goodness, he's making videos where he does literally the same thing year after year after year after year, which is what's going to start to happen here now, because I'm settling into that pattern that I did in FSN once I got my farm established. Like, this is what I'm doing. Now, there was more going on there because you had crop rotation in FS19, for example, so there were times where it's like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this other thing on the field now because I can't plant the same thing, but here I don't need to do that. I can just truly make it a base farm of, yep, I'm just doing this for the next 3 or 4 years to get to the point where I can get a larger seeder, and then maybe I'll make a different decision with a larger seeder. But right now it's like I need to make almost $400,000, and so the reason I don't know that I can do it in 2 years, say, is I'm assuming I'm going to have to buy some equipment. I'm going to have to, or not equipment, I'm going to have to buy some supplies. I'm going to have to repair my equipment. So, you know, that's the piece. Like, yeah, I have 16,000 right now, but I'm going to have to repair this tractor at the end, and I'm probably going to spend $4,000 or $5,000 to do that. There are draws on my funds that don't just let me say, well, if I make $200,000 a year and I need $370,000 after 2 years, I'll be able to buy that seeder. That's just not the case. So if it happens, it happens. It would be great. You know, I'm certainly going to do everything I can to avoid spending money I don't need to spend, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to need to lime field 36 sometime in this cycle. You know, and again, I only bought $25,000 of fertilizer and seeds. So for the seeds, that goes further, but for the fertilizer, it does not. Luckily, it's not using a ton of fertilizer here, so you know, maybe I'll get through those years, and we will be able to do this in 2 years. But that's part of the journey here. Come along and see what happens. But I'm going to keep these a little bit shorter, just because I know last year was a little bit longer, and I just haven't been able to get any feedback because the videos haven't been seen by the public yet. But that's where, once these start coming out, definitely let me know. You know, is an hour and a half okay for a year-long compilation every 12 days? And is that something, yep, I'll watch that. Because if you want to talk a little bit longer and devote 10 minutes to 7 or 8 different things, and that's what it turns out to be, so be it. Or no, keep it shorter, and hey, if you can really keep it brief and get it down to 30 minutes, 45 minutes, that would be better. With all that, that gets me to what I wanted to share at this point. And I'm going to keep doing this. So just as a summary again, plan for today: plant oats on both these fields, run the weeder so that everything's good, and that'll be it. And then I will see you in a bit. Morning, boys and girls. So here on the farm, I'm going to go ahead and top off my greenhouses with water. It's been a bit, and I just think that's going to be a bullet that I really should dodge, because I think otherwise I'm potentially just walking into a problem. So we're going to go ahead, get the water, and then I am going to go ahead and fertilize these fields, because at this point, as you can see, they're at the early fertilization stage. So I just need to get the field fertilized, and that is what I am trying to do today. So pretty basic stuff, but got both the fields planted. Definitely looking forward to having a bigger planter. I'm not gonna lie, it is taking a really, really long time to do those things. I also, you can see, sorry, just realized I still had my money on euros, even though I probably am taking a little bit of break from Hills of Tuscany for a while, just because I need to do this and focus on this. But you can see I keep filling in and so forth. Like, we're probably down to, yeah, 10,000 liters. So we're about 50%. So I finally have that one full. So I'll get these others done. But you notice my money is pretty low. I didn't buy anything. I didn't run out of supplies. Although I think I'm getting very close. But what I did do is I did use the fact that I have that big tractor. Did I not bring it back here? I may not have. I don't remember. I don't know. Or I'm just blind. in any event, yeah, I mean, it shows there's another tractor. I just can't see it over there. I don't know. It's just, I'm wasting way too much of your time, so I apologize. Yeah, I used the other tractor in AI for the first time on the farm. So I had him start the weeding, and then ultimately, when I could, I finished up the weeding myself, but I got all of 35 done and half-ish of 36 before I took over, and that basically chewed up all of my funds. So you can see here I had a loss of 13,453. I did have to do vehicle repairs of 7,000, but I paid out 8,000 of AI, so basically an hour of work, because that's about what people have told me is how quickly it consumes it. But that means it saved me an hour, and I was running out of time. TGC Tours was starting. I wanted to take a peek at that, so just had stuff I needed to balance between work I needed to do and time I had to do it, to not just be irritated that I got stuck in Farming Simulator doing something when I had something else I really desperately wanted to get to. So that worked out, and my thought was, I'm making money here. So once again, if I get rid of the repairs and all of that, which I should be okay with, and I think I have enough fertilizer to be able to fertilize the fields without buying any more, because I'm pretty sure I have some in the wagon as well. And worst case, I could always, you know, take a bit of a loan again. Obviously, I'd prefer to avoid that, but my thought is I'm heading toward having a harvest, and I should have a few $100,000. And yes, it's gonna set me back a little bit in getting the planter potentially, but you know, it is what it is. So that is the plan for what I'm gonna do today. So that gets you up to speed, and then the next time I'd be back is sometime in the next few months to harvest, and then we'll have our return trip to sell, you know, harvest, bale, all of that. But not going to show nearly as much as I did last year. Again, I've promised you a shorter year here. I hope I'm going to not disappoint, because I like to talk, so I like to be with you guys, even though we're, you know, it's virtual, but I'm with you in spirit. You're with me in spirit. We're all a big community. I thank those of you who are subscribers who do like what's going on here, so certainly for those who aren't, I encourage you to go ahead and subscribe to help the channel out, and also helps you find things a little bit easier in your lists and so forth. And liking the videos just gets them to spread more, and the YouTube algorithm notices that and helps things out. I'm going to let you go. I'm going to get this work done, and I'll see you in a bit. Alright, back here. Figured I'd check in July. I don't really have time to work this right now. Got a bunch of things I need to pay attention to, but wanted to at least come in and let you know I, in fact, am going to be able to do this shortly. So I will try to do it in a little bit. Alright, trying to at least get going. So we're going to try the same thing we did before of getting the header out without moving the trailer. So I know I need to basically just kind of peek around the corner or get it into the shed around the corner. So I'll go do that rather than you watching me fumble around with that. Alright, we are out and harvesting. So going to do the standard work, exactly what I did last year. I'm going to harvest the oats, put them in the silo. I'm going to then pick up the straw. Again, I may do this over a few days. It just depends on what my timing is. My goal is certainly to try to harvest everything today, so that at least that's done, and then I've just got straw sitting on the field. But ultimately, the hope is to get things done pretty quickly, so that once again, I'm not having to worry too much about what's happening over here on the farm, and that I can really focus on FOC, the FOC farm, on the days when I need to do work. I've established last time, as I've already shared, that the greenhouses run slow enough that I can go many months without having to worry about anything and refilling the water. And I have just refilled them, so they are set for likely the entire year if I need them to be. And so we'd be in the same boat. That's one of the benefit of growing the same crop, is I know December is the month that I need to sell. So then that would let me know that basically, 5 days from now, that's my target, and hopefully I can find enough time to do it. The sale tends to be quicker, other than the bales, which takes a little bit of time. In any event, I'm going to do the best I can, and then we'll see where we end up. Most importantly, I just wanted to verify when I came in today that A, I could harvest, and B, that I didn't somehow go negative. So I am making money, and let me take a look at one thing when I go back the other way that I just thought of. Just wanted to look at the finances, and yes, made about $1,500, as I said. Today's not done yet. We spent money the day I had AI do some of the weeding. I'm hopeful that I won't need AI to do anything here. It's possible that I might have them do harvest, but I can harvest tomorrow if I need to. So unless I run into a problem, I shouldn't have to do that. And then that gives me a little bit of money to do repairs and to go ahead and purchase, say, fuel if I need to, if I'm running low. I think I'm all right, but we'll see how everything plays out. So that gets you up to speed. Nothing unexpected, nothing new, nothing exciting that is happening on the FOC front that I need to mention. So we'll keep it short and sweet, and I'll see you in a bit. Alright, back here. Probably looks a little intriguing. I tried something new, so I figured I'd share it with you. So remember when I said with round bales, the big difference between round bales and square bales is you have to stop with square bales? I decided, why don't I not stop with round bales? And actually, I'm thinking this works quite well. So obviously I have to go pick up all those pieces, but you can see they somewhat lined up in ways that don't seem like it's going to make it that crazy. And given the fact that when I'm stopping, I had to stop, back up a little bit, because, when it picks it up, you're already moving, and then you're too far. Shoot. I was looking for my bale wagon, so it's down over by the silo. So I guess you'll get to see it a little bit more, but more on this field. Like you can see, they're almost lined up in a row in some cases. But even for picking things up, so at this point my plan is go grab all these bales so that I'm not banging into them as I pick things up. So do the bale collection now. But I'm trying to recall, but I think it only took me like 45 minutes or something to do all this, because basically in this case I just let the tractor keep going, which is, so the swath you see is the time from the baler opening up to then closing again and picking up. So it's pretty consistent. Of course, when you get to the end of the field, it's a little different. But I thought it was worth sharing that new strategy with you and what I'm doing. And I think I like it. I've enjoyed how it worked. It lets me kind of treat baling the same way, where I don't have to just sit and drive and pay attention, because otherwise the bales aren't that far apart. I mean, if you look, this lets you tell a little bit more, like this is a row, so you can see the difference between one bale and the next. And yes, you're only traveling 17 kilometers an hour, so it takes a bit of time to get up to that next thing, but it's still probably only 15 seconds. And so if you are doing this all while trying to drop them the way you normally do, and even though it has automatic drop, like, yeah, it starts to drop it, but you still have to back up, and then the baler goes up on top of the bale. You're not always lining up, then you're sitting there turning around. You know, the thing I haven't determined yet is, you know, do I just drive the rows and take another X amount of time, or do I sit here and drive around and get each swath? And as I'm thinking about it, because even picking up the bales is almost that version of it, it may just be more efficient, and I may just go ahead and just drive the rows again and let it pick things up, and I'm probably going to be able to go 3 or 4 rows before a bale drops again. Or maybe not. Maybe it'll be 2 or 3 of these swaths. It probably won't be 2, but if I look at and kind of fill in the gaps, maybe it's 5 or 6, so it's probably two rows is going to be my guess. You know, that's what I did, so my intent is just pick up these bales, get them off out of the way, and then just basically go through again. And I think that's quicker than sitting there and trying to do anything other than that, and other than the wear and tear on the tractor and whatever. I think it's going to be better for the sanity. So, I don't know. I'm sure I'm not the first person to think of this, and I'm sure there's plenty of you that'll comment below and tell me why this is a bad idea, and you're probably right. You know, because as I think about it, I mean, just in theory, running the field twice fully versus running it once but slowing down and whatever might be worse, but for the feeling of gameplay, I don't think it'll be worse. Because I certainly enjoyed this a lot more, because the frustration of backing up and jumping on a bale, which is extremely frustrating, because what happens then is you then have to go circle back around to get back in line because you've missed some, so you're still doing all that. You know, the difference is, because initially my thought was, well, I'll just pick these up and then I don't have to drive the whole field, and I may still do that because it's not as if you're moving that quickly with the baler. So I'll see what I decide to do, but that is the update at this point. I've got within a couple hundred liters of the same amount of oats. 247,880 is where we ended up, and we had 900 something last time, so I ran over a little bit of oats this time. I'm guessing I probably ran over 100 or 200 liters, because, you know, a grain is pretty prolific all the time, so I think everything was the same, which it should be, without precision farming and liming changing and so forth in the background. So I'm going to keep picking this up. We had 145 bales last time. We may have the same or less this time, so obviously at 24 bales apiece, even this partial pickup is going to take 4 or 5 loads, I'm sure, before I have everything up. So I will be doing that, getting that done, and then at that point, my work here is done until sell time, and then it will be done until planting time. But at that point, you know, this year's video will end after sell time, but I will be back then, so I'll see you in a bit. Alright, so in the interest of a picture is worth 1,000 words, I did run around and drive for a little while and very quickly got into, no, I'm just going to rerun the field this way. And so, for whatever reason, I'm getting this weird graphic where the bale shows up outside, but that's neither here nor there. That's not the picture I wanted you to see, but you're seeing it anyway. And this is probably not quite gonna do what I want. Yeah, see, it sucks it back in, and now it will output it, but yeah, this will actually work out okay. Because I was worried it was going to drop the bale on there, so that's part of the issue that I have with just running around a little bit. Let me get going here, because I'm doing that goofy talking, not talking thing. But now in between, like now I'm done, I just pick up the pickup head and then zip along. So it's a little more interactive than just, I mean, I could just let it run, but obviously that's going to take a really long time. And then this makes it relatively quick. So I probably did 3 of those bales, just running back and forth and riding between the areas. And again, I wouldn't line up in some cases. I would miss things because I wasn't at that point locking onto a track. I was just driving. And I quickly realized, all right, I'm wasting more time again circling back around to pick up the 12 liters that I left because I was off a little bit or something. I'm like, it's going to make more sense to just go down the line. And doing the pickup head, you know, I get down the field pretty quickly, as you've seen. That is what I'm doing, but rather than try to explain that to you when I got of, hey, this is what I decided to do, I figured I'd let you see it, and then you can understand, hopefully, a little bit better of what exactly it is that I was doing to pick these up. So I'll see you in a bit. Hi everybody, Mature Simmer here. Early December morning, and you know how they say early bird gets the worm? If we look here at oats, over here at Hobo's right next to us, 625 for oats. It's going down, but it is incredibly high, saying that 603 is normally the highest. So if I had waited till later in the day to come in and take a peek at this, price would have been something else. It looks like those honey pallets are still laying around. Not sure how we get the word out to get that cleaned up. I put it out in the server chat, which would be the most logical thing. I suppose I could try to ping the FM directly. That should do it. So yeah, we will go to Hobo's right there. And there you go, D9. Just to verify that it's there. So it takes a little while to pour. But the good news is $6,636 will become a lot more. Question is, are we going to clear $206,000 or are we going to be a little bit less? And that will be what the results will be today. So let me go get these oats delivered. You know what I'm doing. And then I will take a look at the bale cost. Alright, here we are. Thinking we're going to be above 160 by the time we're done. So there we go, almost another 5,000 for that load of 7,000-ish liters. Got nearly 75,000 per truckload. So I will say, as we've talked about, it is really challenging to get into that chute for the grain. It just is really difficult to pull in there. I got stuck every single time, and it was not pleasant. Alright, so I've got one hay bale there. So we've got almost 1.6. We probably do have 1.6 million liters, because I have that bale there, and you can see here, because the bale's 11,000. So we want straw, we want the big bales, and we're going to want 23. And then basically I output 48 at a time after that, because that's just what we would need. And this should then hopefully just pick these up. There we go. So we're going to get these picked up, and 46 is typically the high point. We're at 47. Again, all of these are things I can't sell to. They're other players, biomass plants, things like that. So the only way I could do that is to come up with some sort of agreement, and I highly doubt they're going to pay me the highest price allowed in the game. So not really one of those negotiations I'm too worried about. I'm sure at some point in the future I'll end up negotiating on the market, just trying to move some things, but maybe I will, maybe I won't, not sure. So the benefit in the future, in case you haven't seen me do this last year, it'll do 2 stacks of 24, which is exactly what goes onto this cart. So it'll go 3 high, which it obviously didn't need to here. I always think I can turn around there, and then I really can't. So rather than once again create a point where I'm stuck and backing up and trying to avoid problems, I'll just circle back around. I wouldn't have to do this. Normally I would just fill the trailer, circle here, sell, come back, fill the trailer one row at a time. It's just because I only need 23 that I need to do this. But yeah, when I tried to output the full 145 bales before, and I do have to be careful because if I get too close, I've thrown a bale over the wall. I did that last year. It took me a good 10 or 15 minutes to get that bale out of there by basically pounding on it with a tractor, getting it to flip the right way, get it over the rail, because I don't have a telehandler or a bale fork, anything like that. So it just definitely got to be a challenge. So slow and steady is what works here. But basically, you know, we should be really close to maybe 75, 80,000, which is about what we've got. So with the sell price of what we had for the oats, we have made 130,000 in profit. So that's after all materials that went into the field and all of that. One of the things I want to take a quick look at, you know, once I'm over there selling the bales, I want to take a peek at something, because otherwise I'm going to sit here. It's going to take, I think, 4 or 5 loads, 6 loads, 7 loads, whatever it is, because I think that, you know, final bale or 2 will go in on its own. I suppose I could have just done that this time, although I still would have had 2 rows, so it wouldn't have mattered. I was trying to figure out how I could have been more efficient, but it's alright. So, a load will be about $12,000, so, you know, it's a good amount. Used to be a small car, not anymore. Inflation over the decades, because that was probably 40 years ago. 40 plus years ago that you could have gotten a compact car for that. Alright, so I was going to go check. It took me a while to remember what I was going to try to do. Yeah. So I'm going to have to lime this field next time. That's what I was worried about. I've also got my greenhouses down to about half of the water. Probably in the off season I'll go ahead and fill those, but yeah, this is when I really need to go slow, because as it drops from 3, there's a possibility they start bouncing around a little bit, and this is where I, you know, kind of pressed forward, and then when that arm goes down, there are collisions, and it starts to kind of toss things around. So yes, I'm going to get 75,000. This is the same amount I sold hay for last year, so it's consistent. The oats, I got an extra $8 a thousand, which for the quantity I had basically ended up giving me an extra $7,000 of income. So we are, instead of being just under 200,000 in profit, it looks like we will be at 206,000, which is great. So my final, see, and I already, oh, I gotta make sure I move over here, because it came down. Oh, I'm hoping this will go the way I want it to, because it came down and bounced that pile of bales a little bit, and that's what ended up happening, because basically you tip that, oh boy, that far row. Ooh, oh, interesting. That's not good. That's not what I want. Ay, ay, ay. Alright, well, never had that happen. That's further over than I want. I'm gonna have to play around at the end, but luckily for you, that'll be off camera. So at this point, like, I think I've honestly... Oh boy, come on. Stop doing this to me. Alright, well, pulling it this way is fine. Whew. Anyway, a little bit of nerve-wracking this. But at this point, I've given you everything you're going to need for the year. You know, it might fluctuate a little bit, but for all intents and purposes, I should have about 212,000. Well, I'll have more than that because, again, it's 206,000 in profit, but, you know, obviously, whoops, and that's the thing. So now I'm done. So, let me pick this up because I don't want to knock it over as I pull out. Just more challenges. So there was profit of 130 on the other one, but we obviously had 156, so it was like 20,000 additional, because again I already had 6,000 in there. But now you know kind of the trajectory of what I'll have. I'll definitely have a balance above 200,000, well above it. So there is a possibility that by next year's harvest, we will be able to then go into the following year with a new planter. The wild card will be things like what I just showed, field 36, needing some lime, and the fact that I'm pretty sure I need to go get some lime. If I look at my supplies, 89,000 liters of lime, maybe that'll be enough. I don't know. The fertilizer I should be okay with for another year, but seeds I'm almost positively not. The good news is seeds are inexpensive, so it's going to be close. But if I, you know, maybe, because I'm thinking if I have the same kind of year, you know, because I paid for the seeds that I have now when I pick things up, like, so, you know, it's still an accurate calculation because that's the profit I got. The cost of those seeds was still the cost of those seeds. I didn't actually have the money flow out. I'm dealing with my bank account at this point with having enough for that cedar. I'm going to have, you know, a $20,000 buffer already. This profit I made kind of got made on seed that I had already pre-purchased. From my bank account, that money had already come out, but from an accounting standpoint, that's not what we had. All right, well, I'm going to have to play with this, so I'm going to focus on this, but that gets you everything you need to know, including hopefully getting a little excited that, you know, maybe after next episode, the next year summary, which, as I said, is going to get us really close to the point where you guys will finally be able to be giving me feedback on, yeah, I like these yearly summaries, or no, I hate them, go back to what you were doing. I'm not sure this is going to reach. Oh boy, don't fall over on me. I'm not liking this at all. But if not, I think the new year with the cedar will certainly be the year that by then I'll have some feedback, because that's going to be a month from now, and at that point we'll have gotten right about to where we caught up. So yeah, it might be another couple episodes. Again, I've dragged this on probably 3 or 4 extra minutes just talking about finishing, but we are done for this year on the farm. Happy with the outcome, exactly what we would have wanted, and that's always a good thing. So I will see you next time.